Welcome to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivy, and this is
John Welker, Vice President of RP Research. We are
RPG Research.
Did I say G?
No, you didn't.
G.
G.
This is John Welker, Vice President of RPG Research. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization who studies the effects of all role-playing games in all formats for their benefits for educational, therapeutic, entertainment, and
Leisure. Yes.
Because I'm lazy and I want to be leisurely. But
No dying over there. No dying over there.
speaking of all that great stuff, I just got back from vacation. My 35th wedding anniversary.
Put your mouth
Oh.
at the mic.
Are we paused or am I being berated in public?
You're being offended and nobody's
Oh,
Not even my wife.
the mic.
oh,
Okay.
yeah, we moved the mic over so that you should be able to see it. But
All right.
yeah, you were on vacation.
I was on vacation, my 35th wedding anniversary.
So what's a vacation?
That's where you don't show up for work for a couple days.
I've never experienced that.
Or in Europe, they call it a holiday. We're going on holiday. Not to be mistaken for a holy day.
No, I barely know what sick time is, But yeah.
Are you going to force me to make Jamaican jokes?
What the hell? No, that is less a Jamaican joke and more a comment on the work culture in the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, but how was your vacation?
It was a blast. It was exhausting and it was in some points painful. But we went on a real adventure. We went hunting trolls.
Ah,
So we have the Northwest Trolls that are done by a single artist who actually has done hundreds of trolls.
wow.
And they're all over the world, from Denmark to Seattle. And we saw 6 of his trolls.
Okay.
And then we saw the Fremont troll.
Okay.
There's-
Well, speaking of which, if you're still troll hunting, I know another place in Spokane where you can find some more trolls.
In Spokane? Where? And don't tell me the Internet Cafe.
The Yokes by my house has plush trolls.
No. You're talking those things with the fur
No.
coming off their head?
No, not those trolls. Not the one that they made a movie out of.
Okay.
Little plush trolls. Yeah.
Are they Norwegian or at least Nordic trolls?
I don't know how to identify trolls. I only know 2 types of trolls. The trolls with the big plushy heads, and not the trolls with big plushy heads.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
So they're different real trolls. Speaking as a Norwegian, yes, and a Cuban, and all those other things. It's a huge list. But Nordic trolls are actually vary in size from little guys that you could hold in your hand to literal mountains.
Oh yeah. And yeah, better than gremlins?
Of course, better than gremlins.
Yeah. Okay. Confirmation: trolls are better than gremlins.
They do suffer from sunlight sickness. That's where you get the first stories of trolls turning into stone.
Ah. Okay.
Now, the Hilda, which is I believe it's from Denmark. It could be from Norway, but it is definitely a Nordic production cartoon of a girl who deals with trolls. And the trolls are like the 1990s gargoyles. They're only stone during the day. And they're flesh at night.
That reminds me of an old cartoon, David the Gnome.
Yes, David the Gnome actually is based on a series of books that introduced... So that was also your first introduction to Norwegian trolls, because those are Norwegian trolls in there. David the Gnome is based on a series of books about gnomes, and they're as close to real trolls as you're gonna and gnomes as you're gonna get.
See, this is just gonna make me love David the Gnome even more, although the ending was depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I did for my weekend. We did a lot of walking. I walk on a cane, as you know.
Yes.
And surprisingly enough, after a mile-long walk, my wife was the one who ended up getting hurt most because,
happy.
well, I took a break and sat down on a bench, and she went out towards the shore to collect shells and rocks and slipped on a log.
She's supposed to be avoiding the logs. She's supposed to be there for shells and rocks.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the driftwood, which is illegal to remove from the shores of the Seattle area.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We went to all kinds of nice places, rode on ferries for the first time, took our first Uber, took our last taxi.
Your last taxi?
Oh, yeah, we'll not do a taxi again. It was the difference between a $30 trip and a $50 trip, and I think the guy literally took the scenic route because they get paid by the mile.
So, is David the Gnome as sad as Happy Tree Friends? So, Happy Tree Friends is less sad and more traumatizing.
It's at least a lot more pleasant than watching Watership Down as a child.
Yeah, I would put Happy Tree Friends nearly on par with the Watership Down, in terms of trauma, and I've watched both. No, David the Gnome is sad, more like having a really, really good and earnest friend, and then losing them.
Yeah, they moved out on you.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some of the other topics that we have.
Yes.
I mean,
by the way, our main topic today is going to be combat, but we're not there yet.
right. But we are going to talk a little bit about some of the other interesting things. Now, I have a strong link here because I was going to talk about Cosmer RPG. What I have here, the link is for Dungeon Masters.
Oh, yeah.
So you've gotten to number 5, right?
Oh, yes, of the Dungeon Masters. I have.
Yeah. And so what do you think so far? And what do you think of the twists? Is it like I said, they're showing him to be delusional?
Yeah.
They are really putting a bad spin on him.
They are.
And it is kind of frightening.
Yeah. I mean, as much as, and you know that you've heard me bash on Dr. Frederick Wortham, and the utter damage he has done to the comic book industry and our society as a whole. I understand that, for example, he isn't all bad. He did try to do those things in good faith, just as practices were incredibly flawed. And when he found out, when it came with Dr. Frederick Wortham, when he came to understand what comic books really were about, he changed. But it was a little bit, a little too late.
Right.
Yeah. So I will give him that much credit.
Well, the other thing was that he never had that as his primary concept.
Yeah.
It was one of several possible solutions that he was going at, and the press ran with it to the extent that if it was done today, it would have been a political platform.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen that happen before. It happened with comic books and Seduction of the Innocent, which is why I don't have a problem bringing up, Dr. Frederick Wortham.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this, other than the fact that they're obviously overplaying the incompetence of a world-famous detective?
Yeah. I feel like they are, I think it's, at least for me, a bit heavy-handed, where they're drawing a comparison between Egbert.
Yeah. James Dallas Egbert III.
James Dallas Egbert III. And the detective's son.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like I know enough about James Dallas Egbert III to feel like, I mean, yeah, okay, there's some overlap in terms of the portrayal of the son and being in a more nerdy, less machismo-esque personality, but I don't see, I don't see the son as the type of person who would make consume or what is it, consumer or custom drugs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, his son wasn't making custom drugs. His son wasn't hanging out in underground gay bars.
Right.
And of course, clarification for the time that underground gay bars were the only option at the time.
Right.
It wasn't like
Yes,
there's
designer drugs. So yeah, the main distinction I would see is like he's not creating designer drugs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lambast anyone for being in an underground gay bar. I know the history of that.
Yeah.
It was the only option.
Right. Now, as far as the designer drugs are concerned, he was a genius.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote his own computer programs, designed his own computers.
Yeah.
And he was also a drug dealer
Yeah.
who created his own designer drugs and hung out at the gay bars because that's where he was welcome at.
Yeah. I feel like, and I don't know if you've seen this movie before, it has Macaulay Culkin in it, oddly enough.
Okay, that narrows it down.
That I feel if they did a more honest portrayal of James Dallas Egbert III, it'd be closer to Monster or Monsters Ball.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Yeah.
It feels to me like they wanted to tell the story,
Yeah.
but they really wanted to make sure that the other side was the villain.
Or at least they wanted to portray the villain. Yeah.
And I honestly don't believe that he could have possibly been as incompetent,
Oh, yes,
bumbling.
Party Monster. Thank you, Earth. Party Monster is the name of the movie.
Yeah.
With Macaulay Culkin.
And that he couldn't be as incompetent and bumbling
Mm-hmm.
and delusional as they made him out to be for the thing.
Yeah. And I've come across people who are, and I've seen people who are in the limelight and, how should I put it? An honest analysis of them realizes that they are not nearly as competent as they are portrayed to be.
Right.
But not to this degree, no.
And there is a saying that people raise to their level of incompetence.
Mm-hmm.
And as a colonel once said, I am an excellent captain
Mm-hmm.
and even a better lieutenant. Once you pass the level of where you are really good at,
Yeah.
you are now in fresh water and you are at the bottom of the totem pole of that level.
Yeah.
And you really get good at that level once you exceed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the see one, do one, learn one. You don't understand it until you teach it.
Yeah. You really don't know what the nature of a lake is until you step into the lake.
Right.
Yeah.
So I understand he had problems.
Yeah.
I understand it. I just think it's a little bit overplayed. On the other hand, it's an enjoyable story.
Oh yeah.
I like the sounds, the music, and I even like the characters that never existed.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel it needs to be pointed out that
There is quite a bit of straw manning there. Yeah.
yeah. So the link that I posted was for
Cosmere RPG.
well, that's the title that it was supposed to be for.
Yeah.
Now, Cosmere RPG, the reason I bring it up is
I believe I did some research. Brandon Sanderson's RPG.
yes.
Yes.
And Brandon Sanderson is one of the biggest names in fantasy and science fiction. This is beginning with Stormlight Archive and expanding to Mistborn. The original tabletop RPG will grow to support the entire Cosmere.
Cosmoverse.
Yeah, I almost said Cosmoverse, but it's Cosmere. And this is very notable. Remember when we were all talking about Avatar,
Yeah.
the RPG? Well, this has beaten Avatar, the RPG
Okay.
in the amount of Kickstarter. It has beaten something with a lion in it. It was it's one of those tactical board games. It's not actually a war game. I think we have it over there somewhere.
I'm not familiar. It's not coming to mind.
Yeah. So it is the highest grossing RPG, and it's now higher than the highest grossing tabletop game.
Wow.
Guess how much they made?
I'm not going to be able to guess.
Okay. That's fair. There are late pledges still available till September 30th, but right now, when they closed it, people had pledged $15,149,874. And guess how much I put in?
How many?
0.
0.
I can't do everything.
I know. And for me, and I know that this is unfair because I know that a lot of people, and I've come across people who are rabidly fans of Brandon Sanderson. And I'm not going to besmirch him, but I will say this much: for the longest time, I was getting him confused with the guy who wrote Name of the Wind.
Oh,
Patrick Rothfuss, I think.
yeah.
And I tried getting to that series and just I did not like. I went through 3 full books thinking, okay, at some point this is supposed to be good because it's really, really, popular, and I just ended up disliking the main character. So, unfortunately, it's going to take a while for me to, understand that Brandon Sanderson isn't this guy, but in my mind, it was this guy. It was Brandon.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not fair to him.
It's not fair to him, no.
But it is good to know that role-playing games are bringing in that kind of money, and not Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Because although I am a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, Hasbro does kind of have semi-monopolistic tendencies.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I like the fact that it's not Dungeons and Dragons is because every game that isn't Dungeons and Dragons that is doing really well
Yeah.
is good for the entire industry.
Absolutely, yes.
And it gives us more a variety of genres, play styles, and we'll get more into play styles and things like that when we talk about combat later.
Pokemon Red and we're talking about I think
Pokemon Red and Blue is a electronic role-playing game.
Yes.
We haven't had things that I don't know what the greatest electronic RPG
is.
Electronic RPGs make more money than tabletop.
Yes, they do.
Not hands down, entire bodies down. In the tabletop board game
realm.
So in the terms of what systems bring in the most money, it is electronic
Yes.
computer games. It is the the card games really don't do a lot on Kickstarter. But Kickstarter, the card games like Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering alone brings in more.
Yes.
But then you get tabletop board games and finally tabletop role-playing games. And for a tabletop role-playing game to beat the highest level tabletop board game is a newsworthy event.
Yeah.
It's happened a little while ago, and I haven't been able to talk about it, but I figured it was about time we brought that up because it's only fair after we hyped Avatar like we did.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I feel that, it's news, and I think it's worthwhile news. So good on him, good on those fans. I wouldn't mind seeing the role-playing game when it comes out.
Now the other thing, so we talked about Dungeons and Dungeon Masters. I think I already saw the teaching and learning with TPR cheese go up there. Did I say cheese again?
I think I heard cheese.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so teaching and learning with TTRPGs.
As you know, I developed a program to help somebody who is extremely educationally challenged.
Yes. I believe I was helping with that one.
You definitely were helping. I
At least I
wrote,
was trying.
yeah, I wrote the program, I ran the game, and you were assisting there as a player archetype specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And
Expert in art.
and as the expert in art.
Yes.
So launching soon, I mean, means it's not out yet, and I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure when it does. Is Adventures in Teaching, Learning with TRPGs, a new book and other tools? I'm hoping there is a Discord that I'm a member of, but I haven't done any real talking on there. Because I'm
It's
not
working.
Yeah, good lurking. But it is all about using role-playing games to teach.
Mm-hmm.
Math, science, history, all that kind of good stuff. And I am very much looking forward to this. And when that Kickstarter launches, I'm going to put what money I can into it
Okay.
because I like having those tools.
Yes. Yes.
I get tools from what are they called? Dungeons and Dragons.
The learning center or learning resources.
Yeah, the learning resources.
Yeah.
IYCM or something.
You would know better than me, and it seems like you're
Oh, I am grasping
blanking on it right now.
So let me go this D and D
Learning resources.
educator.
Oh yes, the educator resources. And I believe we've gotten a few things like physical products from them before. And I believe we've gotten a couple.
Oh
of
yeah,
stuff
I've
like
gotten plenty of things from them.
Mm-hmm.
Educator resources. All right, dndwizards.com resources, but the educator resources. So you go down to there, and when you click on the For Educators button, it will take you to somewhere, anywhere.
Yeah, thank you, Hearth, for finding that that link. Now, I
Yeah, educator resource, but there's also a link to the actual company that's providing the Colloquium. And it is based on Common Core,
okay.
and it fits all the things. It's ymiClassroom.com/lesson-plans /DD/. Not
That is a
D&D, not
very-
D and
That
D.
is a very complicated.
Well, just go to ymiclassroom.com, and then you can start shuffling your way down from there.
Now, I've seen a few of these type of resources, and there is one criticism that I've seen.
Okay.
Okay, and I feel it's kind of like, where do you start? And a lot of them I see tend to focus a lot on elementary school level learning.
Okay. This, the Young Minds Inspired, basically ends at 8th grade.
Okay.
So yes, it's a beginning resource. You want high school resources? That's where I'm hoping Adventures in Teaching and Learning with TRPGs will cover.
Yeah.
Now I'm missaying it because I'm saying it correctly unlike the universal standard of TT.
RPGs.
Yeah. But I'm hoping that's what's going to get us into the higher education levels. I do know we were going to do a research on an event in Japanese history, and we were going to run 2 classes, one without role playing and one with role playing, and see who got the better scores.
Okay. Because one of the issues that I've had is I strongly believe that role playing games is a wonderful vehicle for learning, but I also feel like to prove that to the general public, we need to be able to teach the general public concepts that they would actually respect. And honestly, I don't feel like there's a lot of respect for some of the early learning stuff, because it's like, oh yeah, that'd be easy. Anyone should be able to learn that. I feel like some of them may see that as, oh, it's easy mode. But no, I feel role-playing games can be used to teach, teach very complex topics.
Not only
concepts.
can you use it for teaching complex topics, you can use it to teach language.
Yeah,
You can use it to teach philosophy,
yeah,
ethics,
Mhm.
logic.
yes,
All these things you actually need. It's not just I'm learning a new word.
yeah,
I can teach you almost anything
mm-hmm.
except for physical skills until I get into LARPs.
And this is one of the reasons why I understand conceptually why it is so powerful, because in a role-playing game, we can create a playground where someone can safely explore concepts, and those concepts could be very simple or very complex.
Yeah.
And we can do it in a safe environment where if a mistake happens, it's not like it's going to be the end of the world.
Yeah, you get the mixture wrong for a chemical formula in a role-playing game. The worst that happens is the game master tells you you're wrong.
Right.
You do it in the real life, the worst that happens is somebody else tells you you're dead.
or someone tells your family that you're dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I know this is a complete tangent, but I heard there is a research study going on in hospitals.
Really?
In their OR rooms, they have special messages hidden in places that only can be seen if you're looking down from the ceiling.
Okay.
They're trying to study the veracity to stories of out-of-body experiences.
Ah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So they've got their control.
Yeah. So if you claim to have an out-of-body experience, they'll ask you, so what did it say over the lamp? Huh?
Didn't check.
Yeah, or
See,
whatever.
you know, I feel like, okay, you can hide it, but it should be one of those things where if you're, for example, hovering over the body and seeing from above, it should be obvious, as opposed to, you know, you're hovering over the bed and playing Where's Waldo. I feel like if you're doing an out-of-body experience, at least, you know,
It's supposed to be extremely obvious to anybody who's at the correct angle to look down at your own body.
yeah. Okay.
I would love to hear some results from that, but I don't know anything. You know, we were talking about earlier the trolls, and I was also thinking about how that is utilizable in a role-playing game scenario, even a LARP. Sometimes a story can be instead of you start in a tavern and the mysterious gentleman in the corner puts you on a mission. Your mission is to go to the beer fest festival. We've done that. B6, I think it was, King's Feast.
Oh, yes. Infect me.
Correct. You know, you're a tourist or a pilgrim. Look at the Canterbury Tales.
Yeah.
Which was shocking to be taught in high school.
Yeah.
But as far as role-playing games go, Canterbury Tales is a perfect example of all the stories you can tell on a pilgrimage.
Yeah.
It's not just I go there and I have an adventure. It's the adventure of getting there and all of the different things that can happen and all the stories that can be told that can be part of your game. It doesn't have to be something that starts off with goblins are attacking or bandits on the highway. You can start off with something kind of obnoxious. Yeah, you're at home, you have a garden, and something's eating large chunks of your garden.
But didn't we talk about exploration last talk show?
Yeah,
This
yeah,
feels
we
very much
did.
in exploration.
Yeah, but the point is, starting a story
Yeah.
Doesn't have to
Absolutely.
start. Now, another way to do it, and we'll be talking about this, a great way to start a story is right in the middle of combat.
Oh yes, yes.
Um,
You know, the Iliad start.
right.
Yeah, right in the thick of things, and you have to figure out what's going on, the history and the past, while dealing with the present and the future as it comes up.
Played a game of Spelljammer.
Uh-huh.
It was Spelljammer Academy, and you start without having any memory of what you were doing before because you're basically in a giant hologram in the middle of this combat. And then as soon as the combat over says, the teacher comes out and says, so you could see why we're in the Battle of Zadaboom, why the captain had such great problem and the additional failure. And then you find yourself with your memories back and you're in school. And then the story starts from there.
Interesting. So it gives people, living, breathing context of why they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are some of the few things that this trip with the trolls reminded me of.
Yeah.
Also, cultural points when you are traveling, like all the different foods that we had along there.
By the way, I feel like this is a wonderful endorsement of, yes, role-playing games are great and fun. Get out into the real world and explore. Because
Oh, exactly.
You can only tell stories of what you know, and sometimes you have to go to where you don't know to learn new things.
We have used castles in some of my home games
Yeah.
that are based on the castles I've actually been to. I like to pull from the real world, especially if I can actually use the real world location. Then I can pull up their maps and that kind of stuff, and I can throw in those sneaky little bit of teachings of history and culture.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of the reasons why, and you've heard me harp about this, for at this point multiple games and shows where I love pulling from real world cultures because I find them fascinating.
Right.
Yeah, like today I was listening to I think it was a TikTok where someone was talking about they're tired of seeing another empire in role-playing games and it's based off of Rome.
Right.
And yeah, Rome can be interesting, and the issue that I have with that is I feel like everyone's pulling from the same aspects of Rome.
Right. When you can definitely be pulling from dynasties and epochs of different cultures.
Right. Or here's one: you pull from the rise of Caesar, which I don't see many people doing. Rise of Caesar is a lot different than, say, dealing with Nero.
I like pulling from Babylonian. And it's amazing what we're learning from in history that will influence the games that I play,
Yeah.
even in a complete fantasy world.
Maybe not Caligula without a certain consent forms filled out.
I'm not going to make any mentions of doing Caligula the LARP.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
That would be
Well,
that would be very thick consent forms
yes, yeah, and an interview process,
and a lawyer present to witness your signature.
yeah, yeah. Just there isn't enough for that one. But if you're attacking the sea with role playing games, the sea will and can actually attack you back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, for my home campaign, I do pull from a particular empire.
I think you've told me this multiple times.
I actually pull from, I want to say, 2 different empires that were working in concert at the same time.
Which ones?
The British
Right.
and basically the expansion of the Spaniards.
Okay. Yeah.
So the Spanish and the Portuguese empires, and how they conquered America, and some of the horrible things that happened with that. So yeah, I pull from that because I feel like there's some very important things to learn and explore in those concepts.
And that you did bring up just a good point there, because it is also easy to look from a modern perspective and write all Europeans as villains.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is easy. Obviously, because we're seeing these imperial nations being built, that they're the villains and they're oppressing everything. I feel it's always more nuanced than that. It is, it isn't just powerful people, becoming more powerful and hungry. Sometimes it's power, spiraling out of control.
I want to, there's an ad for the early Star Wars RPG.
Okay.
And they showing a group of stormtroopers marching in parade, and the generals and the ships and all that stuff. There's an arrow pointing at one trooper.
Yeah.
And it says, "What's his story?"
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to get away from the big politics and look at the small group dynamics that were happening amongst a particular pirate or a particular farmer.
And this actually gets into, and I'm going to be waxing a little bit on anime here. One of my favorite series, because I feel it describes this dynamic very, very well, is Gundam Wing.
Right.
Because Gundam Wing is a war story. Yeah, there's mechs and whatnot, but ultimately it is a story about soldiers. And when you're watching that series, ultimately it comes down to, there's soldiers on both sides, they're fighting each other. They're not necessarily bad people. And when you go up on both sides, in terms of the higher ranking powers and the politicians involved, both sides are corrupt.
Right.
So in Gundam Wing, you're seeing just like how ugly war is on every side. And I think that is a very interesting story to have.
And we talked earlier about a new role-playing game. It's a solo role-playing game where you play, the war is over. And you and your mech now have to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
What kind of life are you going to leave? Are you going to be a mercenary? Are you going to be a farmer? Are you going to be an asteroid herder?
Yeah. And I feel that is a very, especially in America, there's a very important concept of like, how do we treat our veterans? Because, I know that you're a veteran. I am not. Okay.
True.
Okay. I have a problem with the military industrial complex. I have a problem with the way our veterans are treated, because I don't think any veteran is treated well. I think we need to treat them better.
I don't think you'll be finding many veterans that disagree with the concept that they should be treated better.
Right.
And that's not just greed speaking. That's like, I'd like to be able to get an appointment in this lifetime.
Yeah, that is for me just straight compassion.
And it is better in some places than others.
Yeah.
My brother's in Seattle, and he's having all kinds of trouble. And it also could be an individual thing. I have a friend of mine who's a captain in the Marines.
Yeah.
Or he was. He's medically retired, and he can't get disability.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. He's medically retired, but can't get disability? Scratch.
That sounds like
I went into getting, I need enough so I can stop paying the copay on my meds, and ended up with nearly 90%, and probably will get to 100%. And I've had, except for a few little things, I've had very little conflict in trying to get my disability.
That honestly sounds like the left hand not knowing that the right hand exists.
Yeah. I didn't know there was a second half of this body.
Yeah. Oh, geez, but let's not, wind in.
Yeah, we're not going into politics.
Right, yeah.
Unless we're talking about role-playing game politics. Yeah. And role-playing game politics are something that is to be looked at from either the social group of a one-on-one conversation to you're now a king and you need to run your country, so you're going to deal with politics.
Yeah, what does it mean to be a good ruler?
Exactly.
Yeah. And sometimes that is a lot more, that is a lot messier than people realize. Because there's the whole phrase, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. It is very easy to let's lead a well-meaning leader to horrible ends because they keep on, chasing the good thing that they're doing, they don't realize that there's a larger thing happening and they aren't aware of it.
There is, and subverting expectations in the politics, and the other things. Rockabaral, which is a location, it's a meteor in the Spelljammers games.
Yeah.
And they have a criminal underworld there. There's
Yeah.
like 4 of these guys. And if you are in the district of a particular criminal mafia boss, whatever you want to call him,
Yeah.
going to charge you insurance. Make sure nothing bad happens to you.
Uh-huh.
And they cut just this short of being extortion because something bad happens, they come in and fix it or give you reimbursements. Or they're actually, yeah, we're gonna make sure you're okay. You can just give us a couple of money, and then suddenly people are going, "You okay? Anybody bothering you?" They're actually doing something.
Criminal cartels running insurance companies,
Exactly.
but with probably better insurance than some of the insurance companies we have to deal with in real life.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That is,
Oh, yeah.
That's hysterical.
And then I was saying, subverting the most popular bartender is a beholder,
Uh-huh.
who charges you in stories.
Interesting.
Yeah, plus money too, but stories really get you going there. So pretty soon we're going to go back on our break, and we're going to come back and talk about our main topic,
It's
combat.
combat, yes.
And the main topic of combat, we're going to not get into the nitpickies of how to run a D&D combat. We're not going to get into Pathfinder is better than Dungeons & Dragons. We're just going to talk about
Combat.
how combat works in role-playing games, the complexity choices you have,
Why combat?
why are you doing combat, storytelling during combat, using combat to express a personality.
Yeah.
Going beyond, I hit him with my stick. Roll to hit.
Well, I've seen some characters where I hit him with my stick is the personality, and that's the full personality, and it's a great personality.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have also seen the same type of character run up and say, I give him hug because I haven't seen anybody for so long.
Yeah.
Oh no, George is dead.
Everyone's name is George now.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, after we talk about our combat, we will come back and talk about traps and riddles.
Yep.
And we are working on number 8, scenario number 8 of 10, and then we'll have to go on to the next one after that.
Okay. And do we have some unboxings?
Yes.
Okay.
We have the 2024 Player's Handbook, which I got early.
I heard.
And now it doesn't matter by the time I get a chance to do my unboxing of it. Everybody's already talked. We're going to talk a little bit about a company that I get my paper minis from. They're called Paper Golems, and we're going to talk about the Lego D&D minifigure series. I found a company where I bought the entire collection at once instead of trying to do blind boxes. And they sent me the actual boxes.
Okay.
But I'll tell you the secret to how to get the right ones without having to tear them open and retape them or glue them shut and pretend you aren't one of those evil people.
How do you do it?
Scanner code.
Okay.
Scanner code will actually tell you. But I bought mine from a company that gave me all the boxes that they had scanned and correctly identified as which ones to get the entire set all at once. Those are the kind of pieces that we'll talk about later. Between combat as a main topic and between our next break will be 15-minute breaks.
Yeah.
Do want to remind everybody that emails to us should go to info@rpgresearch.com.
Yep.
And your subject line should say RPG Talk Show in it, so I know who you are, or at least who you're trying to talk to.
Yes.
And the final and last thing to always say is donate. rpgresearch.com/donate. We are a 501c. None of us make any money. And we would like to keep doing these shows and expanding our influence farther and wider.
Yeah, and we want to help more people. So we'll be back in 15 minutes. Okay,
See you then.
see you then. Welcome back to RPG Research's talk show. My name is Daniel Ivey, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. We, as I mentioned before, are a 501c3, and we research the benefits of all role-playing games. And one of the things that we research, of course, is consequences, grit,
yeah.
and
It's not just a throwaway term. It's your ability to stick with it when times are tough.
right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really tests people is combat.
Yes.
And you have, whether that's just testing your tactics or the grit when you are playing in a game where you start off as a first level mage with 1 hit point and a spell that can only lock doors but not unlock them. And you have a dagger, no armor.
Yeah.
And if you step on a rock too hard, you die.
Yeah, I remember, when we were going through training, I had a single, I was playing a spellcaster
Yeah.
with I think 1 or 2 hit points, and at the very least I had magic missile.
Right.
So it was, I go in, I cast my spell, oh look, my companions are dead. I drag them back, and I go back to town. I come back, I fire off my magic missile again, grab the other body, and bury it. And that was my character's just story.
Yeah, I've had some embarrassing deaths in the lower levels. Things like, oh, I'm finally getting on good. I've got all these great tactics. A pit opens beneath you.
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah. And I actually find it a bit amusing because I knew that we were going to be getting into combat, but on Reddit, I'm not going to tell you what my Reddit name is, but I ended up getting into a conversation with a
His Reddit name is None Your Business.
yeah, emphasis on the none. With a foreign player who admitted that English isn't their first language, and that they were learning to play Dungeons and Dragons, and they were the GM, and they were getting an issue where all that was happening was combat. And they were getting into a rut with combat. They're looking for different ways to spice up their games for more than just the run-of-the-mill combat. And I try to help where I can. And I was interested in some of the other things that people were saying to try and say, okay, more than just we go in and hit things. Because combat is more than just we run in and hit things.
Right. Well, one of the first things you're looking at for spicing up combat is you need to look at the complexity of your system.
Yes.
We have had systems that are so simple, the player literally rolls a single dice, and if their number they roll is higher than the value of the monster, kind of like a CR level.
Yeah.
So as a level 4 monster, you roll a 4 or higher on a 6-sided dice, you won. No matter what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking, fighting, trying to trick them. Just roll the one
I
die.
feel like that's too simple for me.
Yeah. Well, that's no thank you evil.
Yeah.
And that is as simple as you can get. Now, we've also had games that are so complex that you had to take into account weapon type versus armor type.
Yeah.
And
Roll versus spreadsheets.
yeah. 6, the difference between a 6-second round and a 1-second round, where the first round I pull my pistol. Then we go to the next person, and the next person, the next person, the monsters, and the next person.
Yeah.
And then I aim my pistol. Then we go to the next person.
Next person.
It's, it can be extremely complex. So you look at the complexity of the game, and that will alone change how the combat is run.
Yeah.
You'll notice that somebody playing Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 will use different tactics than somebody who's playing 4th edition.
Flanking.
Tripping.
Yeah, tripping. I remember pulling some tactics in 3rd edition where like, okay, that should be wrong.
Right.
I was playing a paladin with a scythe and I was tripping all day long.
Yeah, and then people do make mistakes like taking actual physics and adding it to the game. So that
a peasant railgun, yeah,
exactly. I was going to definitely mention peasant railgun. But the other things you can do beyond looking at the complexity of your weapon is add other complications to the rounds.
Yeah.
For example, terrain features,
Yes.
terrain activities.
Hazards.
Yeah. On the count of 19, every round, a random mud pop
Explodes.
will explode and splatter. And if you're the one standing next to that, you might take damage. Line of sight issues. Fog.
I've had some combats where, against some more seasoned, players, where all I did was I took what they assumed was a 2-dimensional fight into 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
Because I took a dragon, it was like, oh, the dragon's gonna do his breath weapon, and they're planning for like, only 2 people getting stuck in the breath weapon at one time. And then I realized, oh, this is a white dragon. They have ice climb up onto the roof and hit them from an angle.
Right.
And suddenly everyone's getting hit and realize, oh, this is 3 dimensions. Crap.
And that's another point.
Yeah.
I noticed there's a difference between the type of tactics that come out for theater of the mind,
Yeah.
which sometimes can be a little more freeing,
Yes.
but other times if I have just the simpler the map, the simpler the combat.
Yeah.
I put out one of my full printed colored maps that have all the objects on it, and I tell the players everything you see is there.
Yeah.
It changes the way they think.
Yeah.
When you bring out 3-dimensional items, so I have a picture of a room with a table on it, and people will ignore that table. But I put a 3D table where that table is.
I'm gonna flip
Suddenly,
the table.
people are going to flip the table. They're going to stand on the table. They're going to grab chandeliers.
You want to give them actionable information
Right.
as opposed to just fancy descriptions.
Right. And speaking of fancy descriptions, is you need to do more. I swing axe, roll to hit, I hit, I do this much damage.
Yeah.
To I swing the axe with both hands. I cast the spell, crushing them guano and stuff together, and a green ball comes out. There's a giant fireball blasting through. The more descriptive details, the more exciting the combat is.
So I feel like there is a I hit it with an axe, or using the combat, even if it's just like I hit it with the axe, displaying the personality of your character through combat.
Right. I do that a lot through dialogue in combat. You use the Spider-Man or Deadpool approach.
Yeah.
You just keep talking during the conversation and showing your things. Your villains should be threatening and monologuing. One of the most memorable people I had, villains that I had my players fight, was excessively polite.
Yeah. I do love some of those villains.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me, you dropped your blade. Let me assist you here. I'll wait.
Yeah. And I feel like, okay, that brings in another interesting dynamic where stakes. It isn't just like, oh, to win, everyone needs to be dead. Sometimes just changing the stakes of what's at stake with the combat. Do you need to kill everyone?
Well, there's always the option to come out with a non-combat measure. But there's also options to trade your combat from lethal to non-lethal. Your goal in that combat, is your goal to take out all these people? Is your goal to get past them?
Yeah.
If all your goal is to get from point A to point B on the map, it can change the way you're doing your combat. Also, are there restrictions? Pacifist run through? Yes.
Yeah, you can absolutely, well, some campaigns are harder to do pacifist runs with because some campaigns are built around the idea that there's going to be a meat grinder.
Right. You don't go into annihilation.
Tome of Annihilation.
Tome of Annihilation thinking you're not going to be able to talk your way through everything.
Yeah.
Because the whole point is that death, it comes sooner and easier to people.
It is difficult to be a vegetarian when the only thing on the menu is ground beef.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting back to stakes of like, okay, and this is a big thing for me, and I don't run all that many combats, but when I do run combats, I want it to be impactful because I want to know, why are we even fighting? Why? If just because I have people, and some of my players have learned this the hard way, just because there are monsters there doesn't mean you should be fighting them.
Right.
Yeah.
One of my favorite tropes that I've done a couple times to different players is the ogre with a toothache.
Yeah. Of course he's angry.
Yeah.
He's got a toothache. And he's gonna have a hard time explaining that his tooth hurts. And maybe he's just grumpy because of it.
Yeah. The you want to throw in impacts of the fight. Like, the villains are in town. But if you actually kill somebody who's threatening you, you can go to prison.
Yeah.
Or I have everybody's favorite escort missions.
Oh no.
That changes the dynamic of a fight.
Yeah. And I feel this also gets into something where, when you're thinking of like, why are we fighting? I think this overlaps with the a concept that I've come across when analyzing fight scenes in anime and honestly any type of theater and whatnot, and that is fights at times are conversations themselves.
Right.
Why are you fighting? What is being resolved? And what are being resolved in the fight?
Showing the fighters' personalities. The brash young barely able challenges with his wild swings and incautious attacks, and the elder statesman going tick 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 thunk.
And a perfect example for that is one that I've ran, and I apologize, Hearth, because you've been subjected to this, where you were here when I was doing my initial game, the first one, where at the end everyone gets thrown into slavery by the specific group of people that I built called the Anti-Party.
Some people, and this is because it does take away some agency. Sometimes, for the sake of the story, the party has to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Hearth is still very angry about it, and the point of it was, I wanted everyone to, okay, I need a central focus in the story. I want everyone to dislike, and obviously Hearth still, hates the Anti-Party. I had an Anti-Party that, it was a lightning rod. I get everyone invested. And everyone finally escapes from slavery because I wasn't just going to, life is garbage and that's what you have to deal with. No. I wanted them to come out angry. And they were angry. And they went and found the Anti-Party. And then they realized, I need to be more than just angry, because they found out where they were and didn't realize that the Anti-Party was staring them down in a different disguise. They weren't just evil, they were evil and smart.
Right.
And again, they got their butts handed to them. They realized, I can't just be emotional with these people. I wanted them to want a real victory, not just a knockdown. It turned out to be a knockdown drag-out fight at the end, but
right.
They had to earn it.
They had to earn getting into that knockdown drag-out fight. Yeah, no.
They had to trap these people so that they could do the knockdown drag-out. Because they were some slimy, weaselly group that you thought you had them cornered, and no, they're on the opposite side of the map now. I'm not talking about like, battle map. I'm talking about the other side of the world.
Yeah. They're a continent over, and...
Yeah. And assassinating someone that you cared about. Yes, I did actually do this.
Yeah. Oh, you really want to make a party hit and run tactics?
Oh, yeah.
Creatures that can hit you and then drop through the floor, and you don't get attack for opportunity because all you're going to do is chop at the floor.
Yeah.
Or people who like no, I'm not going down there to fight you. I'm just going to fly around here up here and drop things on you.
And I've made it known that although I do utilize chaos quite a bit, ultimately I'm a tactician.
I like to definitely use tacticians. I like to run my tactics
Yeah.
based on the culture of the critter and their intelligence and wisdom things looked
Yeah.
into them. So there is books called The Monsters Know What They Are Doing.
Yeah.
And the author of that goes not only to the culture, but looks at the stats and say, why are they? This guy is supposed to be an ambush monster.
Yeah.
So this is the type of tactics he's going to use. This is when they're going to try to run away, because not every monster, in fact, most of your monsters should not fight to the death.
Correct. Because, unless you're dealing with a monster that has a death wish,
Or a cultist.
yeah, there's an innate, drive for survival. And one of the things that I like doing is researching real world tactics and understanding why they worked and then utilizing them in my games. So I've used bottleneck tactics against overwhelming odds. I've literally been in a campaign where like, okay, I control 2 people. There's a door. There's a room full of kobolds, and I said to the rest of my party, if we just bottleneck here, it'll be slow. It'll be a meat grinder, but we'll get through there. And I watched them go in and realize, oh, there's more than just kobolds in there, and there's nothing I could do because now they're dying to them. And here I am doing bottleneck tactics on all of them.
Right. And it also, depends on the field, the organization, where pincher tactics do not work in a building, usually. But bottlenecking doesn't work on an open plain.
Right. You have to be able to analyze the terrain, and not just like, okay, what type of grass am I talking about, but what are the walls, what are the obstructions, and utilize them. You can't, if you can make sure that they can't come back around you and hit your flank, then utilize that.
Tucker's kobolds, one of the things
yes.
they bottleneck you and then set the bottle on fire.
Yeah, walking into a tight space, no more fireball. You know what? If your entire party is immune to fire, then fireball all day. Unless the objective that you're trying to do is now vulnerable to fire, and if I'm playing a smart villain and realizes that, oh, the party likes fireball, well, maybe the person that they're holding hostage has way too much grease on them.
Yeah.
All times.
And the magic scroll you were coming all this way, you do realize it's flammable.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to, use smart, and at times, especially for your villains, underhanded tactics.
Right. I also don't feel afraid of using stupid tactics.
Yes.
If your monster is not doesn't have a greater than 8 intelligence, it's sometimes going to just attack whoever the last one to hit it. Or it'll just attack the first thing in front of it and stay on that first thing forever. Will it coup de grace, or will it see that the monster is down and doesn't care anymore?
So here's an idea, because
Just go after the next active threat.
yeah, there's a concept of you've got your necromancer, and they have skeletons, and skeletons, they have an alignment of lawful evil.
Right.
And what if the skeleton knows that, look, I may not be that smart, but I don't want to be controlled over this guy. He says attack. He didn't say how. I'm going to try and make sure that I attack in a way that I'm going to die soon. That way, I'm out from his control.
That could happen. The skeleton goes in with reckless attack and starts punching at you, and you're like, you have a bow and you have a sword. This is how I want to go.
This is how I want to go. All I have left are knuckles, and I've got sandwiches to hand out.
I've had really dangerous monsters.
Yeah.
Like a beholder with magic rings. And the party had tactics that I've never seen
Yeah,
used.
I've heard you. Go ahead and tell this story, because I thought this was impressive.
So the druid cast a spell that grounds you. So it removes
Earthbind.
Yeah, earthbind, and it removes your fly speed.
Yeah.
And with beholders, fly speed is all they have.
Yep.
So they're literally stuck in one spot.
Mm-hmm.
Then they use fog.
Now it's blind.
And
not just darkness, it is a physical obstruction.
Yeah, it cannot target anything it can't see. And the only thing it can do is use this anti-magic ray to get a tunnel, which it cannot fire through because it's anti-magic. So you use the tunnel to try to figure out where things are, and then maybe fire blindly into that spot.
Yeah.
And still have disadvantage on anything it's trying to hit. And then they stood around corners and just lobbed area effect spells on this guy. And, he did have other animals with him, but, with the fog and everything, it was too easy.
Yeah. And here's one thing that, I appreciate, because as much as I'm a tactician, I love it when I have players that you came at me with a creative idea. Like I was running Wild Beyond the Witchlight.
Yeah.
And, I told you about this fight, the end fight, where I had two party members, Hearth was one of them, where, there were two villains at the end, and they were able to negotiate around them before finally, confronting them. But instead of confronting them, the warlock who used alter self to make themselves look like the big bad evil guy, basically tapped the Jabberwock on the shoulder and said hi, and basically aggroed the Jabberwock, flew directly to where the big bad evil guy was, and then standing in front of them, and then teleported away.
Right.
The Jabberwock has only seen this one guy, and the Jabberwock then proceeded like, that's a great plan. The Jabberwock doesn't know that these aren't the people that I'm supposed to be fighting. It literally has tunnel vision.
Right.
So I thought, like, okay, I took a look at the stats of like the two big bad evil guys and the Jabberwock, and realized this is a bloodbath. So instead of constantly rolling combat and whatnot, they were able to successfully get away from that entire combat, and I just narrated the Jabberwock completely thrashing these two while they freed Zablina. And when Zablina was free, Jabberwock, behave, and it's Zablina. The Jabberwock's gonna behave.
Right.
But did I love that? I absolutely love that. I don't, as a game master, I don't have to win.
You're not supposed to win. You're supposed to tell a story.
Exactly.
Now, you're supposed to make a challenge.
Yes.
And you're supposed to make it so that they feel that
they earned it.
There's consequences.
Yes.
There are stakes at hand. If you don't think through, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I've also had times where, like, I threw a fight that's supposed to be a one round. You just go through smack, and you go through them, and it's nothing. It's just an easy win. And the monsters, due to the rolls, and a little bit because of my tactics, but mostly because the rolls went the wrong way, are winning. I say, okay, wait, we have a group of 6-level players and a small group of goblins are kicking your butt?
Yeah. Actually, for me, this is reminding me, because sometimes as a game master, you have to realize meta-narratively how things are going and adapt. So I was running, not the last time I ran it, but at one point I was running Beer Dungeon.
Right.
And we were running against, they went into the room that had the skeletons. And the skeletons couldn't roll to hit anything, and the players couldn't roll to hit anything. And after a number of rounds of everyone's trying to hit the other person and no one's connecting, I changed the narrative. I started describing how, how depressing it is, and eventually it turned into, a therapy session between the players and the skeletons, and they hugged it out, and then it described that even though it wasn't a cleric, the hugging it out at the end was enough to turn dead and release the spirits into the afterlife. And yeah, I took something that was like, okay, this is just boring. And I I made it absurd and wacky, but you know what? I made it fulfilling.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to be able to, change the scope of the combat on the fly if it's not working.
And top secret thing that I'm going to scare all the players.
Oh no.
Dungeon Masters cheat. Usually it is only for the story purposes only. The I just rolled another crit. I'm going to pretend I didn't.
Yeah. I've seen some, and this is a recent thing that I've seen online within the last months or so, where there's a pushback against GM's
GM caveat.
well, not just that, but fudging dice. And I fudge dice. I feel like me fudging dice shouldn't be the the make or break. It is the relationship that I have with the players. If they don't trust me to run a fair and enjoyable campaign, then it doesn't matter whether or not I fudge dice. When I fudge dice, it's to make sure that they're either properly challenged, or if it seems like, oh, that was supposed to be a crit and it feels like these dice have been just absolutely brutal to you, and narratively, this doesn't seem like a satisfying place for your character to die.
Yeah, come on, you got into a back alley and a single kobold is wiping out your entire party.
Right. Yes, I will absolutely fudge dice to make sure that people aren't just like, oh my god, I can't believe I died to that. Unless that is the story that I want to run.
Right.
But that's something that people are going to know before they get into the game, that, yeah, I'm going to be running a game where life is cheap and death is meaningless.
I will alter monsters to make them last longer. Usually I max out their hit points, or I will just forget about how many hit points they are. They're going to last 3 rounds no matter what, because I want the monster. It's a monster you've never seen, and I want it to have a turn. I want to show off this neat little power this guy has. And you'll never get to see this monster again, so I'm going to make it last long enough that you get to see its power. I'm not going to
it's like,
destroy the party over it.
I want to show you this cool thing.
Now, where I did get my reputation as a
killer GM,
as TPK, is because some games, especially convention games, and I run a lot of convention games, is the dice tell the story.
Yeah.
And when I did Dungeons and Dragons tournaments at Gen Con, I have these oversized purple dice. They're literally, this is how big around the 20-sided it is. Not this part, this. This is the 20-sided die. And I roll it in front of the screen. And what the dice say is what happens.
Yeah. If I'm in a public game, where a convention, I'm not going to be punching dice. I don't have that relationship with the party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, because of that, one of the things we've done for the tournaments is that we have long discussions. What tactics are we going to use? Because we want everybody to use the same kind of tactics.
Yeah.
We want to do that. And I've had players who are like, I'm sorry, that's a TPK.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't be sorry. That was the most fun I've had having my butt kicked in ever.
Yeah. And by the way, Lord Kanesha, if you've been part of that many TPKs, at some point you just have to acknowledge that maybe it's you.
That could be a problem, yeah. Depending on whether or not you're the dungeon master.
It's a skill issue, yes. And we're making fun of Lord Kanesh here. It's all in good fun here. So, yeah, TPK isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes that's what happens.
My last game, I didn't have a TPK, but I had, ironically enough.
What did you do to them this time?
Well, they were fighting evil slaver spider eel monsters.
Okay.
And these are intelligent creatures.
Oh,
Nyoji.
Nyoji, yeah.
And they will coup de grace.
Mm-hmm.
So they knocked out an artificer, and they're trying to coup de grace.
Yeah.
They cannot roll high. He's got a 19 armor class lying there, and they cannot roll high enough to hit a guy who, you know, like if you had a 10 or 15 armor class, they were still having trouble hitting. But he died anyways because he failed his death saving throws. He only got 2 rolls, a 9 and a 1.
Ooh.
And a 1 is 2 fails, so he died.
Yeah.
Can't wait till tomorrow to see what his new character is.
Yeah, Neo GR, they look like something out of...
Okay.
Basically, imagine a spider with an eel head looking kind of like a centaur, and they're slavers.
Yeah. Think of the spider head creature from Thing and then put a long neck on it.
Yeah. If I use one of those, I guarantee you, if I run one of those against my wife is just going to divorce me.
Goodness.
She hates spiders.
Well, you want to... Okay, so that one game that I played where it was you're at the Spelljammer Academy,
Yeah.
a box of little Neogi. Just a swarm of baby Neogi.
The enemy of my enemy is my enemy.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes that's like, kill with fire.
I created a monster who wasn't interested in killing you.
Oh, jeez. You told me about these crows?
Yeah, the Blood Ravens.
The Blood Ravens. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll paralyze you and then pluck out your eye. Another GM took up my monster and used it in his games. And a player literally said, I won't quit playing with you. I will quit Dungeons and Dragons entirely if one of those shows up again.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, my friend forgot that the guy made the threat, brought out a Blood Raven again, and he just got up and left and never came back.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe playtest some of your monsters.
Oh, it's not a matter of playtesting, but that is definitely where a consent form would have came in handy.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
And if that player has a problem with eyes, or being maimed,
Yeah.
that's something that could have been avoided. So that
One last thing before we end and go into the 15 minutes. One other thing that I wanted to mention, because we have our notes and we do tend to ramble a bit. Another thing that I think makes combat more interesting is having finding and rewarding alternatives to combat. So,
right now, a lot of games you'll see where people don't get any experience unless they fight.
yeah.
And if the party figures out a way to talk their way past it, they should get experience points for the encounter,
Yes.
not for the combat aspect at all. If it can churn into combat. Now, you have to look at the deadliness of the scenario.
Yeah.
If the scenario is that it's a fat and lazy ogre who wouldn't chase you if he was starving, and you got into a fight with it, you might actually even lose experience points because it took a lot to get that fight started.
Yeah. Yeah, and Herc mentioned that this is why I like milestone leveling. Yeah, this is also one of the reasons why I like milestone leveling.
I'm running a game where it is you're working by experience points, but I do give experience points for encounters.
Yeah.
I do give experience points for discoveries. You get a player that says, "Oh, I figured out this." 50 experience points.
Yeah. And I do believe, because milestone leveling is somewhat recent as a concept for me since 5th edition. And I know that there are places for experience points, but for me, because I'm so story focused, I want to pace the leveling based off of the progress in the story.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything against milestone. I use milestone a lot in other games.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm using experience points in this other one is because it's a survivalist game.
Yeah, it has its place. It absolutely does.
Yeah. The Wild Beyond the Witchlight and all the other ones, I'm going to use milestone leveling and not focus on your combat
Yeah.
as
Wild Beyond the
the-
Witchlight is really good with milestone leveling.
Yeah. And also the Mar.
Yeah. So, we will be back in 15 minutes. And
Yes.
We're gonna get into traps and riddles, and then unboxing.
Correct. I got some neat things to show you, and we will talk about other things that are coming up
Yeah.
as we go along. Again, 15 minutes. See ya.
See ya. My name is Daniel Ivy, and this is...
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. And one of the things we do here on the talk show is we do traps and riddles.
Yes.
Now, our traps and riddles can be anything from a trap that I've made up, or it could be riddles that we've stolen from sources where everybody knows them, Lord of the Rings, the Riddle of the Sphinx, etc. But right now, we are doing Challenge of Champions. This was a series of basically the Olympics for dungeon crawling.
Yeah.
And started in the 1990s.
Yeah.
Challenge of Champions 2 by Jonathan M. Richards, artwork by Rags Morales. Dungeon Magazine, July/August of 1993, issue number 69, volume 12, number 3. And we are doing the 8th scenario out of 10. And there are 5 of these Challenge of Champions, so there'll be 50 different ones before I start having to look for other sources for this segment.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to get involved, try to make your guessing online, or if you want to be one of our guests, we can definitely run you through a example and see how well you can do.
Yeah. Okay, so what am I up to today? Because I know normally I either blow through it very, very quickly, or I fail utterly. It feels like there is no in-between with me.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that, because how are you feeling about math today?
It depends on the math.
Okay, well, it's not that difficult.
Okay.
As long as you know your algebra.
Quadratic?
No, just
Okay,
simple
good.
algebra.
Then I should be fine.
Yeah.
I should be fine.
All right, you are met by a gentle-looking Adventurers Guild priest. The man introduces himself as Father Quispin and leads you through a door to an oddly shaped room. Center of the room appears to be a 30-foot diameter pit filled in the rim with gallopy mud. And we should see a picture right up there.
I see.
And extending from the pit are 3 small side rooms. You are standing in one of these side rooms, and you can see a closed chest in each of the other 2. Directly across from you, between the other 2 rooms, is a narrow corridor. Father Quisman gives you your equipment, 2 10-foot poles. And looking at your team's druid, he says, "You will have an opportunity to earn your priest ring during the scenario. It is in one of 2 chests over there. And the other is a ring of spell storing, containing the spells Hold Animal and Giant Insect. Once the whistle blows," he begins his task briefing. The area continues. The chests are designated evens and odds to determine which chest is which. You'll have to investigate the chest closely. I will tell you this, though. Your priest ring is in the evens chest, but inside the chest with it are 4 deadly murder hornets that kill you with a single sting. You must retrieve the priest ring from the evens chest and must all 4 exit by the way of the corridor. Begin.
Okay. So I have 2 10-foot poles.
Yes.
Okay, how large is that pit? Yeah.
What are the dimensions of the
what
pit?
are the dimensions of the pit?
Okay, it is 12 feet across.
12 feet across. Okay. 12 feet across.
Yeah, so that's diameter, not radius.
Okay. So, are the 10-foot poles weight bearing?
They look like they could be weight bearing if they're, depending on how you use them.
Okay. I'm gonna try something.
Okay.
That's mud, right? Not acid?
Yep, just mud. I mean,
Would I be able to test how deep the pit is with one of the poles?
yes,
I check. How deep is the pit?
2 feet.
2 feet. But it's still bubbling, so don't want to get burned. Okay. Evens. evens. Okay. You said you have some math for me.
Well, like I said, one chest is considered even and the other chest is considered odd.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the first 10-foot pole, and I'm going to lay it from where I'm at to one of the corners, and I should have more than enough pole to reach over there. And I'm going to have the rogue, not the druid, use the other 10-foot pole kind of to balance and walk across to get over to the one on the left.
Okay, the left.
The one on the left, yes.
All right, so here is what is written on the left chest.
Okay. What is written on the left chest is 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 divided by 6 times 7 times divided by 2 divided by 4 divided by 5 times 3 times 7 times 8 times 0 plus 16 minus 4. Okay, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please excuse my... Okay, so multiplication and division goes first, and I'm seeing multiply, 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 left to right, all with at the very last times 0. I'm going to ignore all of the multiplication, and 16 minus 4 is 12. That's even.
Okay.
So, left is even. And just to double check, he's going to then pick up the 10-foot pole and shift it over to the exit. But balance over, using the the rod to make sure that he's balanced. The second 10-foot pole, and then get over, basically going corner with the 10-foot poles to get over to the chest on the right.
All right. And here is the math map that is engraved on the chest.
Okay. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Oh, look, there's a 0 again. And then 0 times 6 is still 0. So 88 minus 73, that's going to be an odd. So. Okay. At that one, he's going to try and open up the chest.
Which chest? The odd?
Yeah, the odd. That's the one that doesn't have the murder hornets.
You open the chest and you retrieve the ring of spell storing.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, he's going to make his way back to the priest.
Okay.
The druid, hand him the ring.
Okay.
Okay, and then we're going to go over using catty corners again with the poles. Make his way to the even box.
Okay.
Okay, and we know that there are 4 murder hornets in there, and I have giant insect and hold monster.
Right.
Okay. The druid is going to peek through the keyhole.
You see darkness.
Darkness.
It's not like a door keyhole that goes all the way through the other side.
Right. Okay.
Because hopefully you won't be inside and needing to insert a keyhole.
Yeah. Transform up to 10 centipedes, 5 wasps, or 1 scorpion within range into a giant version of their natural form for the duration. Centipede becomes a giant centipede, and so on and so forth. Each creature obeys your verbal commands. Okay. So, with the how thick is the 10-foot pole?
Well, it looks like it's about a 3-inch diameter.
3-inch diameter. Okay. With the ring on, how large are murder hornets?
Well, they are just a little bit larger than a standard hornet. They're about an inch to an inch and a half.
Okay.
They're just extremely dangerous in the venom.
Okay.
You know, one hit point is the same as dying.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I've looked over the spell giant insect.
Mm-hmm.
You transform up to 10 centipedes, 3 spiders, 5 wasps, or 1 scorpion within range into a giant version of their natural forms for the duration. The centipede becomes a giant centipede, and the wasp becomes a giant wasp, and I'm assuming these will turn into giant murder hornets.
Yes.
Each creature obeys your verbal commands.
Okay.
So, my druid is going to pop open the chest and use giant insect and all 4 of those murder hornets.
Okay. You fail the initiative roll. They stab you to... No. Because we're not doing rolls.
Thank you. Thank you.
They automatically grow to huge size. Now they look like they're big enough to put a stinger through your head.
Uh-huh.
And or torso.
Yeah.
But they aren't attacking.
So, the duration is 10 minutes, and I feel like this is long enough for me to direct them to hover in place to make a bridge for the rest of my party.
Okay.
I'm going to grab whatever is left in the chest, and the druid is going to command them to basically work as mounts to ferry the rest of my teammates to the exit, and me being last.
All right. That automatically fails. Trying to mount a hornet with a giant hornet with a stinger long enough to go through your torso is still only the size of a dog.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood their size.
But no, let me finish though. Yeah, first person who does it. Who is it?
Well, I feel like I would see if it was large enough first.
Well, who is the first person to try to mount one? Who's your smallest person?
My smallest person would probably be the rogue.
Okay, so the rogue goes on there, falls into the mud, and says, "This is warm and pleasant."
Okay. Well, the rogue is then going to walk his way all the way over
Yep.
and exit.
Okay, so the rogue's across.
And then the mage, my wizard, doesn't trust the rogue, so he's gonna stick his pinky finger in there.
It's comfortable. It's warm and bubbly, but it's comfortable.
He walks over.
Okay.
And then the fighter.
Okay.
The fighter's going to be complaining about, that he's going to have to clean this out, off of his armor.
Right.
And then the druid, who's used to mud,
Just tromps across.
No, doesn't tromp across. Goes to the center, commands the wasps to do a spiral in the above as he exits.
Okay. Trying to make it look. And with 5 minutes to spare, you have solved the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always funny that the 2 things you did not need were the 10-foot poles and the ring of hold monster.
I kind of figured once I read what giant insect does and allowed me to, control the giant insects. I was thinking I could only control one, but no, I can control all 4 of them. I'll be fine.
Yep.
I knew that the hold monster wasn't going to. It was going to be one or the other. Yeah.
And
I can't trust the bubbling stuff.
you were smart enough to realize that once you got to 0, everything in front of it can be ignored.
Yeah.
So
Smart, not hard.
yeah, exactly. It's actually written in the notes here to tell people the fast way is to ignore everything before the time 0.
Yeah.
Or in the case of the 1, to include the 0 times 6.
Yeah.
So they only have 88 minus 73. So it's not that hard of a math problem at all.
Yeah. Ooh.
And in fact, you could even done it faster. Because once you look at there, 16 minus 4, that's even minus even, it's going to be even.
Yeah.
88 minus 73, that's odd, even minus odd. It's going to be odd.
That was actually going through my head, but I wanted to verbalize it for people.
Right.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
You're getting better.
Yay! Success.
And when you get next time you play and we do space and post, hopefully you will live through that.
Oh no.
Again, remember, this was called Hornets at Evens, and those titles may be important at the last contest.
Yeah, and I'm going to, even if I'm, given it in front of my face, I suspect that I'm going to bungle it up like I did last time.
Right? Okay, let's. It's 8:15. Let's go ahead and bust right into our opening stuff.
Yes,
Switch
here
the
you go.
camera.
And here you go.
Yeah.
And we have a lunchbox.
Yes. Now this lunchbox is not for a role-playing game, though I'm sure it could be easily done into a role-playing game. I mean, there is a Pokemon role-playing game, unofficial. There is
Yes.
a My Little Pony official role-playing game.
Yes.
And there is a D&D game and Kickstarter for, that's a Pokemon game. This is actually a Pokemon things. But we're not doing the Pokemon game. We just use this as the container to hold the minis. These are minis that are personally to my family. So they're not RPGs minis. And they are Lego miniatures. So we, of course, opened them ourselves and
These are cute.
assembled them. So we have a Githyanki there. That's a Dragonborn Paladin. We have a witch who's actually Tasha.
Yes.
And if you open the spell book, you'll get a nice little surprise. Let's see if you can guess who everybody is.
Oh, you're going to ask me the history of these people?
Well, you should be able to identify who they are. Now, not everybody is, they're just race and class, some of them,
Oh, this is an illithid.
but some of them actually have names.
Well, you already told me Tasha. And I know that some of these are characters from the D&D cartoon. I know that this is a character, I believe, from the D&D cartoon. But I can't remember all the characters from the D&D cartoon.
Right. Well, I'll give you a hint. He's not from the D&D cartoon.
He's not? Then I'm... Let's see here. So let me get them out first. And let's see here. There's a little dog, too. I'm pretty sure that dog's name isn't Toto.
No. And he actually goes with the Ranger, I believe.
The Ranger. Who's the Ranger? That's a Drew. So this is the Lady of Pain.
Correct. And the Lady of Pain
Is from Sigil or Sigil, however you pronounce it.
right.
Yes.
Yep, she's called, that's her name, Lady of Pain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you put that as close to the screen so that everybody could see its kind of details.
Yes.
It's got little sigils in each of its hands. It's got that unique mask and cape. There are new figures, new pieces here that were all not available prior to these minis. That's what Lego fans look for, is pieces that don't exist elsewhere.
Okay.
Like that helmet of hers, which is actually her head,
Yes.
does not exist anywhere but with her.
Okay. Is this a specific character or is it just a mind flare? With intellect devour.
That is just a mind flayer with intellect devourer pet.
Uh-huh.
It's nobody specific. If you wanted to make him somebody specific, I would be tempted to make him the Emperor.
Yes, the Emperor. That's who I was gonna go with. Let's see here. Who else? We already said that this is Tasha.
Okay, open her book.
Oh yeah. I don't want to break this. There we go. So that's Tasha.
Tasha the Witch Queen. So
Yes.
what's in the book?
The book opens up. And It's a little brick, and it looks like it's a indication for Tasha's hideous laughter.
Exactly. Her signature spell is on the first page of the book.
Yes. So that is cute. That is adorable. I love it.
Also, notice that the floor, the pieces they're standing on, have the dungeon work flooring
Yeah.
on them, so it makes it unique. So she's got her cauldron. Now, one of the pieces that's missing there that you may have jumped out all right is that she's supposed to have a flame in that cauldron, but it just sits in there.
Oh, okay. So next, we have a tiefling warlock, because that looks like Eldritch Blast to me.
Right now, so the Tiefling Warlock is very interesting in the fact that its spell is functional.
Its spell is functional.
Yeah. No, not him. Actually, that's not the one that's functional.
Yeah. I don't think this is going to be Will. Will's not a tiefling.
No.
He doesn't have a tail. That's a tail.
Right. That is a Tiefling. Now, some of these characters, you aren't going to see it here. They have alternate faces to make them male or female. Mm-hmm. And the faces all have alternate expressions for the most part.
Yay.
So you can make them happy or mad or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
I think
see.
these are all cute.
Tiefling Sorcerer should have a pseudo dragon.
I don't see a pseudo dragon.
Well, you may need to take a closer look into the box because
Okay.
everything was in there. Take all the paper out.
Oh, okay. I see. There is a pseudo dragon. This is adorable.
Yeah, and this is a different sculpture than the baby Norbert dragon from Harry Potter.
This focus is just really, really red.
Yeah, well, pseudo dragons are traditionally red.
And I see a head.
Okay, that's just another head, alternate head. I think that might be the Githyanki head to, or one of the other creatures' heads.
I'm
Just
gonna put it in Tasha's cauldron.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a loose fire that goes in Tasha's cauldron.
I see it. Let's cook ahead. Or you know what? Let's put the head with the illithid.
Right. Yeah,
There we go,
it's
that
a
makes
snack for later.
Stack for later. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Next is we have this character.
And he has a name.
He has a name. Yes, I know he has a name.
And what is next to him?
That is a brat. And I do believe that this is Strahd.
That is Strahd von Zorovich.
Yes.
And I really wish I could put a little piece of red paper or something in there for that glass of
Yeah.
blood that he's obviously drinking.
Yes. I personally believe that there isn't enough simp in this, but yeah. Okay, next. Next. This guy, I know
Okay, he's the one with a functioning spell.
he has a functioning spell.
Yeah, but you know what his name is?
Oh, jeez. He's not from the D&D cartoon.
No,
No.
but he is from the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Zazam Tam?
Yep, Sazaz Tam. And he, of course, has the flame skull in his hand.
Yeah.
But let me show you how the do you know how
Functional spell?
how the spell functions?
Okay. So,
Let's now my son showed me, and I hopefully will do it right. Am I on camera? There you go. Okay, I press this here, and it launches.
that's cute. So, you push on his head?
No, you push on the tip of the spell and push it towards his arm.
Oh, okay. And then it launches out. Okay. It's gonna have me playing with Legos.
Yeah, I would have liked to have had Vecna
Mm-hmm.
But this, this is cool. It could be any.
Now the rest of these, do they have names? Because you've got an Aarakocra.
Yeah, he's an Aarakocra. What?
I'm guessing this is the ranger, so the dog goes with it.
Correct.
Birdman.
We call him Jonathan
Yeah.
because of the movie.
And then we have this looks like another either a warlock or a wizard. Looks like an elf.
Well, no, it's not a elf. Can you look a little closer at its face, figure out what it is?
Oh, Githyanki.
Yes.
Or Githrazai.
Well, Githyanki is what it is according to the list.
How would you know the difference?
Well, you know what? To be perfectly honest, the title is Gith Warlock.
Oh, so it's even older.
Yeah.
Then we have a Dragonborn,
Which technically means it could be Githyanki or Githzari.
or just Gith.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is Dragonborn Paladin of Bahamut.
Right?
Mm-hmm. We have an Elf Bard.
Yes. Now, the Elf Bard comes with swords, which I didn't bring along with it. They're rapiers.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was more important to show off the musical instrument on my display.
Honestly, I feel like this is not just an Elf Bard, but a multi-class Astarian.
Right, right.
You know,
Astarian who learned to play the lute in that one scene.
Yes. With
Bef-
Alkira.
Yeah, before a certain somebody does a certain something.
If you're playing a Dark Urge playthrough.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, then we have a Druid, if I've ever seen one.
Right. And do you know what race that is?
Give me a moment here. I can't see ears. I'm going to see him human.
Compare its legs to the elf or one of the ones you know is human.
Tall races. So, halfling?
It is a halfling.
Halfling druid. Because it's got short legs.
Yep. Now, who's the last person?
I'm assuming this is human.
Nope.
Let's see.
I put it on the female head. The male head has more distinctive beard.
Dwarf.
Yeah,
Dwarf fighter.
dwarf barbarian.
Dwarf barbarian. I can't tell.
Yeah.
I don't know what rage looks like in terms of.
Well, I put on the happy face too. I didn't stick the rage in there. But yeah, these are the figures. This cost us about $80 to get all of those
Ouch.
in a pre-sorted manner, so I didn't have to pick through and deal with a lot of duplicates.
Okay.
The links of where I got them is in the chat.
I'll put these back in carefully.
Mm-hmm.
These are fun. These are cute.
Someday I hope to have the full Lego Red Dragon set, which will have a lot more figures. Now, Hasbro does have a Lego knockoff,
Yeah.
and they didn't really do that well
I wonder why.
because it's a knockoff.
Yeah.
And they had Lego figures like Many Arrows and things like that. So before you show that,
Yeah.
show the book.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Now, I got this.
The special cover.
Yep, this is the cover you get in stores because I really recommend your local FLG,
Yeah. What does FLG stand for?
Friendly Local Gaming Store,
Yes.
FLGS. And
Support your small businesses.
you could get this online. You won't get the same cover. The other cover is cool. You can get the other cover at the other places. You can get them from D&D Beyond as part of a large sale. There were some problems for some of the people
Yes.
who pre-ordered these through the marketplace on D&D Beyond.
They're still. I believe they're still working on those issues.
Right.
Yeah. So I know that some of them still haven't been resolved.
So I got this early, and I thought it was kind of ridiculous because I got it on the 3rd, but how can I get it? Because it wasn't supposed to be released to the 17th, the physical books. WPN, Wizards Play Network
Yeah.
stores got the early copies.
Ah.
So I got my digital copy, which I got early because of
Master Tier.
my Master Tier account, or RPG Research's Master Tier account.
Yeah.
And I got the physical book because I work at a WPN store when I run games. So I got that from them. And so this is the first example of the new rules. It is very much 5th edition compatible. Yes. There are a lot of new things to learn, like how the weapons work and stuff like that. And your first chance to play the game is through a WPN store.
Yeah.
And you get that module that's over there. Now, this module, which is called Uni and the Hunt for the Lost Horn, the pre-generated characters are all the D&D cartoon characters as adults.
Yeah.
So you got the stats for there. They got all of their magic items in their characters. There's a picture of Uni.
Yes.
This is not a spoiler because it says so right in the title. The horn is missing. It has been stolen.
Oh no.
And your job is to recover this. This can be played in 1 or 2 sessions, depending on the how long your session is.
Yeah.
But a full 4-hour group with mature players, 1 session can do it.
Let's see here.
Now, here was a problem. They gave us this in this format, in a PDF format. So that map is too complex for me to draw.
Yeah.
And I don't have the money to do a full one, and I can't do it on D&D Beyond because it's not available there in the maps. And I did mention it to them, and they recognized they should have made these maps available for larger scale, or at least a player version of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was in your hand there or not, but I do have an expanded version, and I just use Lego pieces, like a single brick as a character.
I do have it here.
This scale is nowhere near the scale. I can't put a player character on it, but I can put Lego pieces, and not even the Lego figure size pieces, because those are actually D&D scale, basically.
Yeah.
I would take a single brick and say, this purple brick is your character, that yellow brick is your character, these rounded bricks are the bad guys.
Now, this is the type of thing that I was talking to you about this at the community center.
Right.
That this is the type of thing that I would try to have a blueprint printout at like either Kinko's or Staples.
All right. Or a college if you can, because it's cheaper.
Yeah. Well, I say specifically blueprint because it's on a larger sheet of paper.
Yeah.
One continuous piece, and I feel like I found it a bit more to be a bit more cost effective.
Right. Do not get it laminated.
No.
Do it in black and white.
Yes.
Because a full color laminated map of the scale you're looking at there is about $100, a little more.
Yeah. Whereas when I print out, and I've printed out multiple, and I don't make that much money. Maybe $8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, very, very economical.
One of the things I do is I'll run it through a paint program, like Microsoft Paint.
Ooh, there's another map.
Yep. And I just drew out the individual rooms as they got to them. And we didn't actually finish this very deep. But
what is this? Looks like a crystal ball.
Yep.
Map.
I don't want to say any more.
Okay.
Because just the fact that you're showing that map is a spoiler.
Well, hopefully none of your players are watching.
Right.
Something done. Let's see what else.
Well, hopefully nobody else's players are watching.
Yeah. Not many pictures that I'm seeing here. I mean,
right. There isn't.
Okay.
There is not a lot of pictures here. Now we're going to get here to the monsters part.
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, there we go.
Okay, right there. That is were the first monsters. Now on the back side of that are the rules, because they're expecting that you have no player's handbook.
Oh.
But it's the least amount of rules. It's 2 pages.
Yeah.
Front.
Appendix A rules. I think it goes onto this page.
Right. So I gave those out to the characters. Unfortunately, when you're doing a pop-up when you're doing this at home,
Yeah.
but even though this was done online, people don't take the time to read their character sheets, let alone a supplement of rules. Now, these rules are only available here. So don't put them up there too long.
Okay.
Because this is monster manual information.
Oh, okay.
And they say they will change.
Okay.
Or they can change. But this is...
Subject to change.
Yes.
And
But this is your first chance to get monster manual critters, is in the module. These are all of the characters. Now, if you notice, if you're a fan of the comic, there's one person who doesn't belong. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't belong. Okay, so which one do you think it is?
see, I think it's going to be unfair because I already know the answer.
Okay, well,
It's Nico.
Nico the cleric was added to the mythos with the Wild Beyond the Witch. No, with the starter set too.
Yeah.
They gave out some of these characters, but you didn't get Bobby and you didn't get Danielle. No, Sheila. You didn't get Bobby or Sheila, and you didn't get the... you did get Nico. You didn't get Dungeon Master. You didn't get Uni. Now, so you can order the starter set minis and get most of these characters, but if you want the rest of them, you got to get them in the 50th anniversary. They're the ultra rares.
Oh, jeez.
And they're all these minis are the children too.
Okay.
So they're not the adult versions. Hopefully they'll come out with it. And
And they're randomized.
well, you can get one ultra rare per brick.
Per brick.
And a brick is 8 boxes of minis.
Yeah.
And there's 10 ultra rares. So to get all 10 of the ultra rares, you need a case and a half.
Yeah.
And the luck that you don't ever get a duplicate. So I have a friend who does minis.
Yeah.
He called paper golems. And he did the minis for the starter set. I am a platinum version. Yeah, he's a fighter now, not a cavalier.
Well,
And his champion.
I believe Cavalier is a subclass for fighter.
Well, he's being his subclass is champion, and the acrobat is now a monk,
That makes sense.
and the thief is, of course, a rogue with a thief background. Ranger, hunter.
Yeah.
As a platinum class level for the paper golems, I get everything that he puts out.
Yeah.
And once a year, I have him make a custom mini.
Ooh, okay.
So I had to make a custom mini for the additional module for the starter set that they gave out for the education program.
I do absolutely love these images. I think they're really nice quality.
Yeah, and he is doing. He did for the starter set because they were provided.
Yeah.
He did all of the cartoon characters, the paper minis, including Uni and the Dungeon Master.
Nice.
And I have asked him to. I'm not saying he's going to, but he likes the idea. I want him to release a full set of nothing but the D&D cartoon characters, both as children and as adult. And he really loves the idea of the leveled up versions.
Nice.
And, include Venger and
Skyla.
yeah, all of the important people that were in there. If they're important enough to make the Wikipedia, they should be included.
Yeah. Let's see here. Who do we have?
That's Sheila. Oh yeah. Now I had to provide with all the characters a spell book,
Yeah.
and I think the next time I go to hand them out, I'm just going to highlight Only worry about the spells that have a yellow name on them because that's your spell book.
And I apologize. I'm gonna have to put this back in order a little bit later.
Yeah.
But, no,
It's a good story. It's a good intro story. You start off as 4th level characters.
Oh, okay.
So apparently, in the time between 1980 and 2024, they only made fourth level.
Ouch.
In 1983 and now.
Ouch. Were they going after like first edition XP rules?
Well, I realized that they were first edition, second edition characters when they were in the cartoon.
Oh, jeez.
And, so this was 1983. They were second edition characters at best, using those rules. And now they are in 5th edition. Plus, they went home for years.
Oh, okay, yeah, that.
The final episode called Requiem, which is a fan-made product.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
And you can find it on YouTube, is what you watch when you watched all the other 3 seasons.
Okay, so this is the PHP, and I've been able to get my copy as well. And people have been going on about how beautiful the art is, and I agree.
Yes.
This art is.
And the artwork is purposeful.
Yes.
So every side class, every monster, and a lot of the spells get illustrations.
Yes.
In fact, some of the illustrations show 3 spells going off at once.
More, yeah. Now I know that there's been some controversy where they don't like some of the representation that's been added, but as we can see, this is your classic D&D type of picture here.
Yeah.
It is being represented as well. It's not being completely subsumed by
DEI.
Yeah, diversity,
Equity and inclusion.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they're not shying away.
Right. And I, as someone who understands,
What do you mean people don't read in bookstore? I did.
Oh no.
I would read comics while there's, just right there by the shelf.
So, John, I'm going to be defending Hearth here because I was at his bookstores.
Yeah.
And so, quick story. I helped, me and Hearth helped shut down Borders bookstore.
Right, and I almost became a manager at Borders, but you shut it down before I could start my work.
Right. So while I was helping shut it down, I helped set up put up signs in every single one of the windows saying we're going out of business.
Yeah.
I put in signs on the 2 sets of double doors that you had to get through to get inside, saying we're going out of business. I helped set up a 12-foot sign above customer service saying we're going out of business. And then proceeded to lose count of the amount of people who walk past every single one of those signs, past the double doors, to customer service to ask, you guys going out of business?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I didn't
will absolutely defend Perth in saying people don't read in a bookstore.
Well, they don't read the signs, but some of them will at least flip through books.
Yeah, they'll flip through and a lot of times they have pictures.
Your presence in a bookstore does not count as literacy.
Yeah. So one of the things I also love, and we're going to see if we're going to flip to this, is they have, for example, pictures of the weapons.
Yeah, they have a picture of every weapon, all the armor, and they have descriptions of all the equipment.
By the way, that is absolutely beautiful.
And the weapons have new abilities. I have been using a homebrew that tried to make sense of certain weapons. I haven't looked, for example, nets now make sense in this book.
Finally, yes.
Yeah, it's a saving throw. That means the big, bulky, slow guy with a bunch of metal on him is not harder to hit with a net.
Ah, there we go. Equipment. And there's another full-page picture.
And there's an explanation of all the pictures.
Here we go. It's organized well.
Now, this is what they did in 3rd edition.
I remember what they did in 3rd edition, And I still feel like this is better because one, the picture's organized based off of this, the category of weapons.
Right.
And unlike in, I mean, I appreciated it in third edition. I like the sketchy look, but this gives you color.
And there are some new weapons in there.
Yes.
Firearms.
Limited firearms like pistols and muskets.
Right. Because we have firearms in some of the campaigns,
Yeah.
it makes sense to put it right in the player's handbook.
And honestly, I don't mind firearms or these level of firearms because I've had enough games where it's like, yeah, they're pirates, swashbucklers.
You should have cannons and pistols.
Yes.
Also, if you don't like pistols in your game, don't use them. That's what Session Zero is for.
Yeah, that is one of the things that with all the rules, if you don't want it, if you're the game master, then don't use it.
Right. One of the pictures in here shows the orcs looking pretty attractive, and and Mexican.
Yes.
Or South American at the very least.
Let's go find that picture.
And this is a illustration.
Yes.
And an option. But guess what? A little further.
There we go.
It's right over there.
There we go.
Pull it back. There.
There we go.
That's an optional way of portraying your orcs. You're the dungeon master. You want pig-faced orcs?
Yeah.
Do pig-faced orcs. You want Lord of the Rings orcs? Do Lord of the Rings orcs.
Yeah.
If you want orcs that are tiny and fat-bellied, do it.
Yeah.
It's your game.
Yeah, this is just showing, I feel like this is, if anything, showing options that could be and how far you can push it, or just to push people into the idea that you don't have to be limited to the stereotypical options.
Right.
So they push the boundaries a bit. And some people don't like boundaries being pushed creatively.
And remember, if you're looking at the human race,
Yeah.
we have
Speaking of which, on the next page.
right, we have a variety of looks, and in the real world, those variety of looks are based on where you grow up or where your ancestry was formed and things like that. So having Mexican orcs and Japanese orcs and African orcs or Mongolian orcs
I kind of like my orcs to be aboriginal.
or Aboriginal,
Yes.
or here's this one's going to blow your mind. All of them could be on the same planet, just different locations have different
Wait,
cultures.
Are you saying that it's possible to have a species that's not a monoculture? Yes, I'm calling it out right now. You don't have to have monocultures for your species.
That don't make sense. All of my elves have to be vegetarians. No,
No.
no, you don't.
Yeah, you
Unless, the only time you have to have races that have to be vegetarians are if their biology suggests that they have to be vegetarians. For example, the elephant people from Magic the Gathering, that, the card game that show up in Strixhaven, it doesn't say they're vegetarians, but a player could definitely choose that, well, I'm an elephant, I'm going to eat like an elephant.
You know who I feel would make amazing vegetarians that just throw people off?
What?
The GIF.
Sure, why not?
Because hippos are vegetarians. They still are one of the most dangerous animals on the planet.
Yeah. And
feel like
a griff who only eats roots and vegetables and things that are
So murders
riverborne,
things.
but still takes a shotgun to your face,
Yeah.
is perfectly legal.
And you know what I like the idea of? Okay, so let's say you've got a dryad.
Right.
Okay, a dryad is a fey spirit of trees. And then you realize, oh wait, yeah, trees in real life in our world do chemical warfare on other plants.
Right. Also, some plants,
Yeah.
trees, drip such a harmful acid and get nutrients from the animals that die underneath them
Oh, I just had a horrible thought. Like a chaotic neutral, like bordering on evil nymph, or not nymph,
Dryad?
A Gimby Dryad.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, if you're familiar with the Gimby plant, you understand how horrifying it is. And it's touch starved.
Yeah, it just wants to hug.
Gives everyone a nice big long hug.
There was a joke on the internet a long time ago about the hug demon, who had all these spiky protrusions coming out of it. But it is touch starved, and all it wants is a hug.
Yes. Okay, let's see what other amazing, because yeah, by the way, as an artist, I want to say that I haven't heard anything, and people have been combing over this. I don't believe there's any AI art in here.
No, and that was because every single time previous to this that anybody attempted anything resembling AI, people went off. Now, unfortunately, the Hasbro president, not the Wizards of the Coast president,
Yeah.
is doubling down on the concept that AI and Dungeons and Dragons are an inevitable mix.
I have my opinions on him, and I feel like he is, he falls in the category where I feel like he thinks he's more in touch with the community than he is. I think he's completely out of touch with the community.
Well, he wants the part of the community that's not already there, who wants a video game version of this. Now, Baldur's Gate 3 is wonderful, but it doesn't substitute for a tabletop game.
Yeah.
And
I was actually talking to Hearth about it. Like, I absolutely love Baldur's Gate 3. And the recent final patch included very easy to find modification tools that allow people to build their own campaigns.
okay, not next week, because next week we're going to talk about rewards.
Yes.
For the Achievers Pony. After that, let's do a Baldur's Gate 3 and how it compares and contrasts to regular Dungeons and Dragons, but also
I'm also going to compare it against
its
Neverwinter
benefits.
Nights.
Of course.
Yes.
And there are things in the new patch that lets you do that.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in weeks, and then eventually we will get into other topics.
Yeah.
I have to talk to them about an idea I have for our next stream, but
Yeah. If we can zoom out.
yeah.
Yeah. I
So-
appreciate that, her. But yeah. I feel like Neverwinter Nights and Baldur's Gate 3 have been absolutely amazing. But there are limitations that occur when you're dealing with the media, the medium of electronic role-playing games.
Right. Now, there's this hybrid realm of electronic. So,
Like VTTs.
yeah. So there's virtual tabletop coming out. Mm-hmm. One of the main guys working on this. He plays different games on the official Dungeons and Dragons. He doesn't play D&D on this thing because it is meant to be a tool that is rules agnostic. It provides the dice, it provides the mini and the structure, and they want to open it, which makes perfect sense, to be used just like Roll20.
Yeah.
Where you can play Call of Cthulhu, you can play the other Hasbro role-playing games, My Little Pony,
Yeah.
and Transformers.
Yeah, and I feel like, okay, that would be a good nod, but there is a certain dynamic that occurs when the primary stakeholder in a major product is trying to open their doors so that other products can come in and play. And sometimes it's like, yeah, come play on our playground, but we're still going to be the biggest bully, especially in our playground.
I don't know how that's going to work yet.
Yeah. So I do have a bit of trepidation with that.
My biggest issue when they did the third-party stuff was that people that I thought should have been third-party, or that more third-party. So we have Humblewood
Yeah.
as one of the third-party things. But we don't have any of the rest of the Humblewood materials, just the core book.
So here's a taste, but good luck finding the rest.
Well, no, you just have to use the physical stuff, and you can make a Humblewood character. That's your best thing you can do, is you can make a Humblewood character on there. There are other modules that are third party that you can use, but like Goodman Games got, in my opinion, this is not factual. I do not know if they actually got shafted or not, but Goodman Games' translation of classic D&D modules into 5th edition, which they had the license to do, should have been the first books in there. But you know why they're not?
I believe, I know that when it comes to a lot of the old school D&D stuff, I've heard tremblings that they're trying to feed it into an AI algorithm.
No. What happened was that they wanted to bring back some of the and do their own releases of them. So we got an Infinite Staircase. We have the Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, and so Goodman Games already did an Expedition to the Barrier Peaks translation. Now, Wizards of the Coast did their own version.
Okay. Yeah.
Added some other stuff there. So they didn't want to compete against themselves, I guess.
Yeah.
So Goodman Games can't make any more. They did Keeps on the Borderland, right?
Yeah.
And Keep on the Borderland is going to be the starter set for 2025.
Okay. Yeah. There's some...
Which is a real shame, because I wanted the Goodman Games versions on D&D Beyond, so I can use the maps.
I feel like there's some... that feels like corporate bullying. Yeah.
I'm not going to say what it feels like to me, but I feel it's a shame.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And I think they should have been the first third-party games to be put in there. Now, there are great third-party companies that are being expedited, and the fact that they will be usable on Sigil, which is their virtual tabletop, and the fact that...
I know that it seems like Wizards of the Coast is making 2 virtual tabletops. One is just flat, and I think free to use right now, and another one is completely 3D.
Okay, one is just D&D maps, and it's not much virtual. And the other one is 3D miniatures that look like miniatures, moving around a 3D environment. It is not going to be as detailed as a Baldur's Gate 3 3D environment.
Yeah.
But it will have spellcasting effects. It will have scaled. It may have sound effects and other things like.
But I mean, we can go into the some of the things that happens with VTTs at a later date. But there's an entire episode that we can do on just that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have a plan for next week? We're talking about achievements?
Achievements.
Yes.
And the pillar that's not talked about, which is awards.
Because we're overlapping this with Bartles' taxonomy of player types. So with combat, we were actually talking about killers and people who really want to we want to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And murder hobos are part of those.
Yeah.
But they're not all of them. Tacticians, people who want to have silly combat.
Yeah.
Versus people. I mean, and the different game systems. We really wanted to get further into the different systems. We can do that in later games. We'll definitely be doing it on our Wednesday when we're talking about the games and stuff like that. But we will see you in 1 week, as long as nobody gets COVID or any other injuries or goes on vacation or anything like that.
We do actually try to broadcast every week.
So rpgresearch.com for more of us. Be a Patreon. Get these broadcasts first.
Yeah, we have actually started getting those out online onto Patreon.
And after Patreon, they go over to
YouTube.
and we're hoping to see you there.
Yeah.
Good night. Well, actually, you're supposed to say good night
Good night.
and dream well.
Have a good night.